I think what Ramesh ji and geniuses like Rakesh ji did with that idea is what is much more important. So buying and selling are not acts of intellect. Rakesh ji used to say they are acts of wisdom. Investing is an act of wisdom. Putting it in that context, it's not that you buy at one shot and forget about it. Right? If Ramesh ji eventually bought 100 shares of United Spirits, I'm sure he did not buy all of it in the first round that he bought. It's a continuum. And therefore, I'm not as obsessed with that framework that I must buy at the lowest price. It's not. I need not always buy at the lowest price. But as our conviction and belief in the terminal value keeps increasing, you keep adding.
Okay. How easy is that? Because for a lot of people, right, if they have bought a stock at a particular price or if they have seen a stock at a particular price, I'm not associating value here, just price, then to buy the stock 20, 30, 40, 50% higher is a very difficult task. So how do you bring that discipline to your purchases?
So I'll give you a real example, and nobody could do this better than Rakesh ji. He bought his first lot of Titan at 32 rupees. Okay?
Come 10 bonuses, splits, whatever.
Yeah. And then we kept on buying. We bought at 80 rupees, then at 140 rupees, then at 240 rupees. We also bought at 900 rupees. He bought Titan at 30x of his first purchase price also. So you're talking of 30-50% higher. He bought 30x higher.
How? And how do you get the conviction to do that?
That's why he's a billionaire and we are not. That's the reason.
Yeah. So, but the question is again how? Everybody out here would love to understand how do you get the gumption to be able to do that? What goes behind it?
It's very difficult. I mean, just because Utpal says it doesn't mean it's easy.
Yeah, it is not.
Very difficult to do it. So only the truly great investors are able to do it out there. But I'll just come back to the margin of safety to explain that point to your audience a bit more, Neeraj. Is that you're getting United Spirits for 200 crores that day I was telling you. So you could buy 10% of the company for essentially 20 crores. 10% of the company. Which means out of every 10 bottles of beer sold, 1 bottle was mine, if I own 10% of the company. And for 20 crores at that time, you couldn't buy a flat in South Bombay. Okay? That's how cheap it was. That's how great the margin of safety was for me at that point. So I just want to illustrate the point to you that markets give these opportunities. Why they give it, I don't ask. But time and again, at the end of every bear market, at periodical times, people sell off stocks. These great bargains are available. And if you keep your eyes and ears open, you'll be able to buy, as your mother said, Rupi ke cheez chavanni mein. Okay? And that's how you ride your way to fame and fortune. You need to get 2 or 3 right in your lifetime to actually build your fortune. The second corollary to that, of course, Neeraj, is you have to back up the truck to buy, which his boss, I think, did the best of everybody else. Bought at the get-go, bought higher, and bought higher than that. Okay? So we learn from the masters. But it's the thing you learn over time as you understand the businesses you're buying and your moral clarity as to why you're buying it. I think you're able to do that. It's very hard to do it. If I ask them tomorrow to buy something at 100 or 300, they'll probably be selling it and not buying it. But to be able to understand that business and the numbers takes a very evolved investor. So I'm not saying it's the best thing for you to do at the get-go, but perhaps as your evolution happens, you will do that.
Okay. You want to add to that? I'm just trying to understand. So, and then I have a follow-up, of course, to what the point Ramesh made. But just the point, right? 30x, right? 30x, log bolenge was, I buy a stock, if it goes up 10x, matlab nihal ho gaye. Right? You go out and sell. And here you are doing the opposite, which is buying 100% higher, 200% higher, 30x higher. How do you do that?
So before we come to how you do that, we must first understand why you must do that.
Okay, sure.
Right? So everybody knows and talks about the power of compounding. But when you plot that power of compounding, you will see that that curve is a parabolic curve. Okay? So to be in the game at the time that that parabolic effect comes is so crucial, right? So it is important to know whether or not the parabolic effect is behind you or ahead of you, right? And that comes from your perception of that terminal value. So when Rakeshji would have bought at 32 rupees, he may have thought that the terminal value is X in his mind. It was not a precise number. It was a directional number. But as his conviction, as Rameshji put it, as his conviction, as his insight kept on increasing, that terminal value kept on moving higher much faster than the pace at which the price kept on moving higher, right? So at all points of time, he knew that the parabolic effect is ahead of me.
In some sense, you are saying that at the start, you may not necessarily know for sure, but you have a hypothesis. Then you move along with the hypothesis. You test it at various points of time. If it doesn't get falsified, then you are on the right track. That may even give you the conviction to even buy it. The first point that we were making, that you bought it at X, then you're buying at 2X, 3X also, because your hypothesis is turning out to be true.
Yes. And one of the beauty of Rakeshji was that he had an iterative mind. Okay. So while he would have a hypothesis, he would keep testing the hypothesis again and again and again and again.
Okay.
It's not that he needed it to be proven every month. No. But in his mind, he would test the hypothesis. And it's a continuing process. It's not a one-time exercise.
Okay.
You do not determine a mega trend once.
Once. Okay, at once. Okay, great. When you bet the house, when you back up the truck and buy, maybe you do leverage as well and buy. Rakesh was famous for using that as well, right? And I think you've told me so many times. I haven't had the chance to talk to you, but I'm sure you would echo the same thing. What gives you the courage to say, ke, ye bet pe, or ye investment pe, I'm willing to bet my house? I mean, how do you develop that courage within yourself? Can you talk maybe about that before we talk about the mistakes?
The tough ones for him.
Sorry?
The tough questions are for him.
So first we must define what do we mean by back up the truck and bet the house. If when you are making a bet, if you put 50% of your portfolio in that one bet, is that backing up the truck and betting the house? Or is 40% the threshold? Or is 20% the threshold? Or 10%?
Okay.
Okay. I can tell you that for Rakeshji at any given point of time, the single largest bet that he took in his portfolio was never more than 10%.
Okay.
Right? It's how you allow that bet to keep progressing. So when Titan crossed 25% of our portfolio, I went to Rakeshji and said, we should lighten up because it's too concentrated. And he said, ये सब अंग्रेजी मुझे मत सिखा. ये सब statistics है. He says, do you see any problem in our hypothesis? No, na. So chalne de. It went up to 33% of the portfolio, he was still comfortable. But I think when we talk about backing up the truck and betting the house, we all interpret it as saying, I'm putting 40-50% of my portfolio in that stock.
You're saying that's not wise?
No, I'm saying not many people do that.
Got it.
And probably most successful people would not do that.
Okay.
10% bet is large enough at a point of time. The key word being the point of time. Over the continuum, as your conviction rises, as your belief in the terminal value rises, as your hypothesis is more battle tested, as the company's business model and its management team demonstrates its resilience and adaptability, it is then that you keep allowing it. So one of probably the single largest check that we wrote at Rare, that Rakesh wrote, was in Star Health Insurance. Okay, we invested 1,500 crores in one company, but it was not even 10% of our portfolio, is what I'm trying to leave with you. We thought we were betting the truck.
Okay.
We were ready to do a buyout of the company, but in partnership with somebody else. We were not betting. However, at 30% below the price at which we bid, if it was still available, I had the mandate from Rakesh to go ahead and bid for the full 100% of that company. So I'm trying to give you the linkage between value. As Ramesh ji said, वो रुपए की चीज 8 आने में मिलती है तब तक ठीक है, तब तक आप 10% ऑफ द पोर्टफोलियो करो, लेकिन रुपए की चीज आपको 4 आने में मिल रही है, then go up to 20%, go up to 30%.
Got it.
Right? But it is over a continuum. It is not at a point of time.
Okay.
Is my sense.
And is your thought the same as well? I mean, one is what Rare does, Rakesh ji do. Is your thought the same as well? You do about 10%, not more than that, etc.
Yes,
Okay.
I would go by the same path. At a point of time, I would not go above 10%. For me to go above 10%, I need to see my hypothesis battle tested. The business model and the management team battle tested. I want to see resilience and adaptability.
Got it. Ramesh, want it? Same thing.
I'm evolving as an investor. It's extraordinarily difficult to buy, as you said, in a continuum. Keep buying higher. You can buy $40, you can buy 60, you can buy it 100. To buy it 400 takes a leap that I have not made yet.
Okay.
And in fact, on the contrary, I've sometimes been a seller of these stocks, perhaps too early, because I made 10 times the money. What's the big deal? Let's sell something. And sometimes to my regret, but it's an evolution of an investor. I'm not there yet. Despite all the many mistakes I've made and whatever, I wish if I was my younger self, you asked me what quality that you wish you had when you were younger than you now.
Okay.
I wish I had more courage and conviction. I think the difference between, say, Rakesh Jhunjhunwala is the amount of courage and conviction that he bought. You talk about mega trends. In 1989, he was telling me that India's time has come, that India will be, not a third world country, but the third largest economy in the world, that the tax rates of 90% will go down to 30%, that trading systems would evolve. He was very clear, even in the 89, 90s, that this was the huge mega trend. And whenever the market fell, it's not that he felt the market would always go up, but whenever it would fall, he would buy, he would remain bullish on India. So the mega trend that he captured so well was bullish on India. And did I capture it? No, I didn't capture it fully. You remain bullish, you remain invested, but his heart bled because he believed the opportunity was there in India.
Wow. Actually, Mia, can I ask you something? Ramesh had told this to me in an interview that in the heart of COVID, Rakesh, there's a public this thing, so I can mention this, that Rakesh did a call and said that, the bear market is over, bull market chalu hoga. I'm sure that would have been discussed at your firm as well. Just trying to understand, how do you guys think about or good times at the time of deep despair? COVID was one such time, right? So agar tabhi aapne socha ke, oh no, this is actually an opportunity. How do you think about it? If you have some insights there. I don't know, if you do currently, it's out of the blue, but I'm just asking you.
Sure. So some of the best picks that Rakesh had were in the time frame 2002, 2003, and Ramesh will validate that. Those were the times that both of them bought Bharat Electronics, Bharat Earth Movers, McDowell's, Titan, right? All those. So what was that environment? That environment was an environment of despair, where everybody gives up hope. And valuations are strongly in your favor. So in 2002, 2-3, if I'm not mistaken, and Ramesh can correct me, that the index valuations were between 8 to 10 times trailing earnings. Okay. And when you are in that despair, the logical economic policy consequence of that is to cut interest rates and flood the economy with liquidity. I think Rakesh could recognize that that sentiment of despair was the same. And when Nifty was at 7,000, COVID bottom was 7,000.
Yeah, roughly there. Yeah.
The valuations were not 8 to 10 times, but not very far from there either. Right? And that flood of liquidity and interest rates getting cut was bound to happen. US had announced, the Federal Reserve had announced that they will do quantitative easing, the next round of quantitative easing, which was massive. So, but only Rakesh could see that. I couldn't. I remember we had internal debates on it. But he was so steadfast in his conviction.
That was his finest call, actually.
Yeah.
He was basically in a hospital bed when he made that call.
Wow.
Which is even crazier to think about it. Dealing with pain and, surgeries and what else. To be able to have that intellectual clarity at that time. And he was very clear, not like he was wishy-washy. I think, maybe, possibly. Ramesh Teji hai. Like that. It was a declarative statement. And he would also, if you were close enough to him, tell you the top 5 ideas he had at that time. I look back, it was like a wish list. I wish I'd bought all those 5 stocks. I mean, that kind of intellectual clarity I've never seen, and I think it was his finest call.
Does that happen in your top calls as well, that you are not wishy-washy? You guys, when you make your best calls, do you kind of, it's a table thumping yes, that yes, this is it, or is it wishy-washy? I'm just trying to understand again.
I wish it wasn't wishy-washy.
Okay.
I'm full of self-doubt.
Okay.
I question myself every single time, and unfortunately I rely on price appreciation to validate my calls. So, again, it's a work in progress, Neeraj.
Sure.
It's not, I wish I was, had, nerves of steel like Rakesh Bhaiya had. I don't, but, still I've done okay for myself. So
Yeah, sure, of course. Okay, so here's
So
a question.
Neeraj, if I may add
please,
to
please,
that.
please, sorry.
So, apart from saying that we are wishy-washy or not, I think the more important thing is it has a lot to do with the personality also. Okay. Rakesh was a personality who would be unambiguous and table thumping in almost every belief of his. Does not mean that he would be rigid or obstinate about it. He was always willing to revisit his beliefs. But he was emphatic about those beliefs. Okay. Probably other veterans would also have the same. But you find that one common quality amongst all the greats, whether it is Radhakishanji or Nimish Bhai or Rakesh, I think they are very uncluttered in their mind. They have clarity, but that clarity arises from simplicity. They don't complicate stuff. They think in a very simple, straightforward way. And with full belief and conviction. Because they have 3 defense mechanisms. The defense mechanisms that they have, the first and foremost, is the fact that they know that they are iterative in their mindset and that if facts change, they will change their opinion. The second is they know that the trend that they are chasing is so big, the wave that they are chasing is so big and so large and so long, right, that there will be many opportunities along the way.